One Question is designed to give subscribers valuable insights on how executive leaders in college athletics think about key issues on their respective campuses, in their departments, or within their leagues and conferences.
Greetings, this is Ty Brown and welcome to One Question. Our guest today is Larry Lyons. Larry is the Director of Athletics at Illinois State University. Greetings, Larry. Thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure, Ty. Thanks for having me.
Now, Larry, you have been with Illinois State in the Athletics Director chair since 2013. Prior to that, you spent 5 months as an interim Athletics Director. And total, you've been there for 30 plus years. So you know the inner workings, you know how everything works there, and you've been at that school during times when the state of Illinois was flourishing in terms of financial, and then most recently in the last few years, not passing a budget where funding to education and higher education was pretty much restricted. How does I guess you would call it tumultuous financial environment in the state of Illinois, where it was in the last couple of years, how did that influence budgeting for the future and any strategic plans you had there for Illinois State athletics?
I think there's two answers to your question, and thank you for that. I think being on campus for the amount of time that I've been here has certainly helped, because I do understand how this particular campus works, how it's managed, and have a pretty good idea of how things work in the state of Illinois. So that there's no doubt that helps. But I will tell you, the budget shenanigans that have been going on down in Springfield have impacted higher education at Illinois State, and in fact all of the other 11 publics in the state of Illinois. Particularly on this campus, there was a direct impact to athletics during those 2 years of no budget. The campus had an overall plan of how to manage no budgets, and essentially it ended up being a budget cut even though there was no budgets. Individual campus units managed their own budget reduction planning. In athletics, we chose to reduce personnel in administrative positions and in support staff positions. And we try to do that without impacting student athletes. We took the mantra that we're going to do more with less. We were able to do that. There were some retirements that we were able to take advantage of. And when we were selective about filling vacant positions that came open, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on way you look at it, we're a pretty fluid business. Athletics is pretty fluid across the country, and when we had turnover, we managed that turnover so that we were able to selectively not fill positions, which helped us reduce our budget, and it also helped the institution in terms of overall positions that it wanted to reduce.
Right, and you mentioned you wanted to reduce those positions without too much impact to student athletes. That sounds like a hard thing to do as a leader of an athletics department, because prior to the positions being reduced, they helped support student athletes in whatever way they did. How did you decide the roles, and what was the deciding factor? How did you make those decisions?
Well, coaching positions were not part of the decision.
Right.
If we had a coaching position become open, we filled those positions. But administratively, we looked at the changing in technology and the fact that more people can be more self-sufficient. When you had some support staff that were what we would traditionally call the secretarial positions, as those came open, we didn't fill them because there isn't the need for as much of that as there has been in the past. In areas where we felt that we could ask people to do more with less, sports information. We asked our athletic study center to share more student athletes as we held off there. Those are a couple of the examples. We ended up not filling about 9 positions over the course of the 2 years, and again, it's administratively just you have to say we're going to do more with less.
Okay, so with those personnel changes, you've been able to keep Illinois State very strong financially. But thinking about the future, Of course, with your background in internal operations, which working with budgets and revenue, how will you prioritize the revenue that comes from campus in terms of your growing expenses, things like student fees and other sources that help with stability?
Well, we're fortunate at Illinois State that over the last several years, I believe, Illinois State has separated itself and has become a school of choice in Illinois. We've had record freshman enrollment 3 of the last 4 years. Applications are up for next year, which leads me to believe that we're gonna have another really good freshman class. We retain a very high percentage of our freshmen to go through to graduation. So that enrollment stability has really helped the campus weather the storm, and will continue to do that. And then it has obviously helped us, because when you have stable enrollment, you can make decisions moving forward based on really solid numbers. And in terms of obviously the student fee portion, but then as you look at growing expenses, how do you manage growing expenses with the other revenue sources? Now, particularly us, we have had really, really great results from our student athletes academically. We've had 4 straight semesters of a 3.23 GPA. That sends a message across campus and sends a message to our donors, to our alumni, that our kids are completing in the classroom. We've been fairly successful on the courts, on the fields, in the pools, those kinds of things. Everybody wants to be competitively strong. But when you put the academic success together and the competitive success, we're seeing some increased growth in our private support. We're seeing increased growth in our corporate support. Obviously, our ticket sales, so we've seen some growth. So you combine that with the stability of our enrollment management function on our campus and strong enrollments, consistent strong enrollments, and with some growing revenue sources. Use the word strong and stable, and without getting too deep in the woods, the campus is strong and stable, and in turn, Illinois State athletics is strong and stable. So we're in a pretty good spot right now. Now, if the state of Illinois can get its act together and help the institution, I think indirectly that will really help us too, because that'll just kind of calm everything down, and that'll make our position even stronger in this state.
Well, it sounds like things are going very well. And of course, success in athletics makes everybody on campus feel good, right?
Well, I think, you go back to the front porch scenario. I mean, I think it's true. If we're doing our job and our kids are doing well academically and our kids are doing well competitively, it certainly makes the institution and your fans and your alumni feel better about themselves. And then you throw into the fact that the institution itself has raised its profile. That really makes a difference about how people on this campus feel. We've had a couple years where we haven't had any salary increases as part of this whole dynamic of dealing with the lack of a budget for a couple years. Well, sometimes that can hurt morale, but that has not been the case. This campus has come together knowing that it's in a good position. All of our metrics are good in terms of national rankings. This is a great place to work. It's nationally ranked as one of the best places to work in higher education. We're a top 50 college town. I mean, I could go on and on and on, but when you take all of those positive things and accentuate the positives, there's a really good feeling around this place, and you can feel it around the state of Illinois in terms of just the fact that kids are applying and want to come to school here. So you put all that together, and it's like I said, we've used the word strong and stable, but it's a pretty good combination to move an institution forward in light of the challenges that the institution and athletics has.
Yeah, and what you're talking about is a wonderful thing, because I'm sure we've all seen when the professors and the faculty and staff are looking over at athletics with the side eye, because athletics is constantly hiring coaches and making these big moves while they're struggling without raises. It just goes to show the superb job you've done and making sure that there was a strong relationship between athletics and everyone else on campus. Larry, I just want to thank you and tell you that we appreciate you joining us here on One Question.
Thanks, Ty. Good talking to you.
That was Larry Lyons. He's Director of Athletics at Illinois State University. And this is Ty Brown with one question. And keep in mind, the role of a leader is to create and maintain an environment that people want to be a part of. And as always, be better tomorrow than you are today. This episode of One Question is produced by Spades Media Group, solving problems using creative leadership.